Welcome to Mindblow, the ultimate destination for jaw-dropping content that will surprise, inspire, and entertain you every step of the way. If you love discovering the unexpected, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and share with your friends to keep the excitement going. Your support helps us keep blowing minds and creating content you'll never forget. So buckle up and get ready, because this is just the beginning. The date was August 5, 2023, a day that would soon be etched into the tense history of the South China Sea. The world's attention was about to be drawn to a remote patch of ocean, where the balance of power was about to be tested in dramatic fashion. In the disputed waters of the South China Sea, an area claimed by multiple nations and patrolled by powerful navies, tensions simmered just below the surface. These waters are not just lines on a map. They are a flashpoint, a place where sovereignty, resources, and national pride collide. On this day, a small Philippine supply boat, the UNCLOS 2, was on a critical mission. Its task, to bring much-needed supplies, food, water, and medicine, to Filipino soldiers stationed on the BRP Sierra Madre, a lonely outpost in the middle of contested seas. This rust-covered ship, grounded on 2nd Thomas Shoal for over 2 decades, is more than just a vessel. It stands as a stubborn symbol of Philippine sovereignty, a physical declaration that the Philippines will not yield its claim, no matter the odds. Suddenly on the horizon, Chinese Coast Guard vessels appeared. Towering and heavily armed, these ships were much larger and more powerful than the modest Philippine supply boat. Their presence was unmistakable, a show of force from a regional superpower. Their intentions were clear: to block the smaller vessel from reaching its destination. The Chinese ships moved with precision, cutting off the supply boat's path and signaling that they would not allow the mission to proceed unchallenged. Horns blared across the waves, echoing the tension in the air. The Philippine crew, faces set with determination, held their course. They knew the risks. Confrontation at sea could escalate in an instant, but they pressed on, refusing to be intimidated. The Chinese ships maneuvered dangerously close, their massive hulls looming over the tiny supply boat. It was a high-stakes game of chicken, with both sides refusing to yield, the outcome uncertain and the stakes incredibly high. Then, without warning, the Chinese Coast Guard unleashed powerful water cannons. Jets of water slammed into the small boat, drenching the crew and battering the vessel. The force was overwhelming, designed to intimidate and drive them back. It was a violent act, short of live ammunition, but aggressive and dangerous nonetheless. The message was clear: turn back, or face the consequences. The Filipino crew, armed with nothing but courage and resolve, braced themselves against the onslaught. They ducked, shielded their faces, and held on, determined to complete their mission, despite the overwhelming odds. This dramatic confrontation was captured on camera, and within hours, the footage spread across social media and news outlets worldwide. The world watched, transfixed, as the David and Goliath struggle played out in real time. It was a raw, unfiltered look at the South China Sea dispute, far beyond maps, treaties, or diplomatic statements. Here was the reality: real people, real danger, and real consequences. The image of a massive ship blasting a tiny boat with water cannons became a powerful symbol. It captured the stark imbalance of power and the courage it takes to stand up to a giant. A modern-day David and Goliath story was unfolding before the eyes of the world. The small, determined Philippine boat facing off against the might of the Chinese Coast Guard, a confrontation that resonated far beyond the waves. This was not a battle of equals. The size difference between the ships was a visual metaphor for the broader struggle, a small nation standing firm against a superpower's intimidation. It was a demonstration of a superpower imposing its will, and a smaller nation refusing to back down. In that moment, the world saw not just a maritime standoff, but a test of resolve, sovereignty, and the enduring spirit of those who refuse to be bullied, no matter the odds. Long before water cannons made headlines and international disputes filled the news, Filipino fishermen faced harsh realities every single day, braving unpredictable weather and the vast, open sea. Scarborough Shoal was more than just a spot on the map. It was their traditional fishing ground, a lifeline that had sustained generations. They sailed out in small, often weather-beaten boats, hoping for a good catch to feed their families and support their communities. But now, the horizon is dominated by a wall of Chinese ships, patrolling relentlessly and asserting control over these waters. The fishermen are chased away, their nets slashed, their hard-earned catch seized, sometimes right before their eyes. Every trip has become a gamble, a tense standoff with larger, more powerful Chinese vessels that can easily overpower them. The economic impact is devastating. Catches have dwindled, and local markets now struggle with a shortage of fish. Fishermen are forced to travel farther and farther from home, burning more fuel and risking their lives for a shrinking return. Many have fallen into debt, unable to make ends meet, the stress and uncertainty weighing heavily on their shoulders. This is not just an economic issue, it is about dignity, about the right to provide for one's family, and the heartbreak of coming home empty-handed. The fishermen are the forgotten victims in this geopolitical chess game, their voices often drowned out by the noise of international politics. Their stories remind us of what is truly at stake, not just territory or resources, but the lives and dreams of ordinary people. It's not just about lines drawn on a map or claims to the sea, it's about lives upended, communities disrupted, and futures threatened by a powerful neighbor's actions. Yet, despite the odds, their struggle fuels the nation's resolve for a peaceful solution, and for justice for those who risk everything at sea. Facing overwhelming power, the Philippines chose a strategic path. Instead of military confrontation, they chose the law. The government took its case to the international stage. They trusted in international rules and institutions. The strategy was a battle of ideas, principles, and legal rights. The Philippines used the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. The argument? China's claims had no basis in international law. The process was long, requiring meticulous work from lawyers and diplomats. It was a calm, calculated effort to use the global order to their advantage. The conflict was framed as a test of international rule of law. Would rules apply to everyone, or could powerful nations ignore them? This legal strategy was a power play of a different kind. It shifted the battlefield to a domain where size and strength mattered less. On July 12, 2016, the world received a historic verdict. The Permanent Court of Arbitration ruled overwhelmingly for the Philippines. China's 9-dash line had no legal basis. The ruling invalidated China's historical claims. It clarified that certain features were within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone. China had violated the Philippines' sovereign rights. The tribunal condemned China's actions for harming the coral reef environment. It was a complete vindication of the Philippines' position. China's reaction was swift, rejecting the ruling. However, the ruling's power was in its moral and legal authority. It provided a clear legal basis for challenging China's behavior. The global impact was immediate, arming the Philippines with a diplomatic tool. The victory transformed the Philippines into a champion of the rule of law. Armed with a landmark legal victory, the Philippines found itself at a crossroads. The ruling affirmed its rights, but the real challenge was to turn that legal win into lasting security and peace. To do this, the Philippines knew it needed to strengthen its alliances and partnerships across the region and beyond. A legal document alone couldn't change the reality on the water. Patrol ships still faced daily risks, and the threat of confrontation remained ever present. The Philippines needed partners, nations willing to stand together for a free and open Indo-Pacific, where international law is respected and smaller countries are not bullied by larger powers. Revitalizing the alliance with the United States was crucial. Decades of cooperation were renewed with fresh urgency, as both nations recognized the importance of unity in the face of growing challenges. The Mutual Defense Treaty, a cornerstone of their relationship, served as a powerful deterrent to Beijing, signaling that any aggression would not go unanswered. But the Philippines didn't stop there. It pursued a multi-aligned foreign policy, reaching out to old friends and new partners alike, building bridges across continents. Ties with Japan were strengthened, resulting in the delivery of new patrol vessels and increased maritime cooperation, enhancing the Philippines' ability to safeguard its waters. Closer relations with Australia brought joint military exercises and training, deepening trust and interoperability between their armed forces. Even European nations joined in, sending naval vessels to participate in freedom of navigation operations, demonstrating global support for the rule of law. In regional forums like ASEAN, the Philippines became more vocal, rallying its neighbors to stand together and speak with one voice on issues of sovereignty and security. This growing web of alliances and partnerships created a diplomatic shield, making it clear that the Philippines was not alone. It raised the political cost for China, making any aggressive action riskier and more likely to draw international condemnation in response. Now, an act of aggression would not just be a local incident. It would become an issue for many world capitals, drawing attention and action from across the globe. This strategy of collective security, built on trust and shared interests, helps balance against a larger power and preserves peace in the region. In the end, the power of friendship and shared values stands as a formidable defense, one that protects not just territory but the hopes and futures of millions. Modernizing the Guardians of the Sea was crucial. The Philippines recognized the need for a credible defense. The military was underfunded, focused on internal threats. Pressure in the West Philippine Sea was a wake-up call. A new urgency led to modernizing the Navy and Coast Guard. The goal was a minimum credible defense. Modernization focused on maritime domain awareness. New ships, aircraft, and surveillance technology were acquired. Allies like the US and Japan provided patrol vessels. The strategy is a porcupine defense, making aggression costly. New assets like anti-ship missile systems were acquired. Asymmetric capabilities allow a smaller force to inflict damage. This modernization sends a clear signal of national resolve. It shows the Philippines is serious about defending its rights. The world is watching how phones became shields. Conflict is fought in the court of public opinion. The Philippines leveraged media and information. They exposed incidents at sea instead of concealing them. Journalists and camera crews were embedded on patrol missions. This strategy turned every patrol into a news story. Visual evidence of harassment was undeniable and powerful. Social media became a critical battleground. Videos went viral, raising awareness and public pressure. Citizen engagement amplified the government's efforts. The smartphone became as mighty as a diplomat's pen. Transparency ensured the world could not look away. A new wave of pride unity in the face of a giant. The challenge in the West Philippine Sea forged national unity. The shared threat brought Filipinos together. National sovereignty transcended partisan politics. The slogan "Atin Ito" became a national rallying cry. Media coverage fostered national consciousness. Filipinos are more informed and engaged. This unity strengthens the government's hand. Public support gives confidence for an assertive strategy. National pride reawakens the Filipino spirit of resilience. The blueprint for courage, a lesson for the world. The Philippines' story is a blueprint for smaller nations. It shows military might isn't the only measure of strength. The power of law, alliances, and unity are formidable weapons. The strategy offers an alternative to armed conflict. It provides hope for countries facing similar pressures. The struggle underscores a fundamental question: rules or might? The Philippines stands for a rules-based international order. Its courage inspires nations facing intimidation. The story is a call to action for peace, justice, and law.